leaving Odessa, which is also a place that definitely deserves a visit whenever in Ukraine. We travel on to the next capital. It's called Chernovtsy. Cernauti, it's written here, it's Romanian name. This was once the capital of a province called Bukovina, Austro-Hungarian Empire province. And the Austrians surely made this look like a real capital in its days. Most of the town is from the 17th and 18th and early 19th century. The town hasn't grown much since then. And the population has been replaced completely, whereas it was Romanian, Austrian, and to some extent Hungarian, German in the old times. Nowadays it's very Ukrainian dominated, although you might still hear a Romanian language spoken in parts. Like Odessa, Chernovtsy is also famous for its backyards, which can get you to completely unexpected parts of town if you just pass the gates. While passing, also look up to see in some places beautiful paintings that have been decorating those tunnels, those gates for a century or more. Out on the street again, play around with the kids. They don't take away snow and ice in the winter streets in Ukrainian towns. Well, not in the backyards either. And also watch out for the falling ice. Returning to the overall view of Ukraine, we will visit yet another part in the very far west of Ukraine. Lwow, or Lviv in Ukrainian, is the old capital, so another capital, of Galicia, which was a Polish province before the Second World War. And long before that it was also capital of the province Galicia in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Lwow is really old, it's really gorgeous, it's a very impressive old town, and it has virtually no tourism whatsoever. The town hasn't grown much. I think it might have even decreased its population in the last 50 or 60 or 100 years. It was huge in the Austro-Hungarian days, and it was a very important town in Poland. It also reminds of Krakow or even of Prague or other Central European cities. So, for anyone who's into that kind of towns, that means probably most travelers, most tourists, can enjoy a long stay in Lwow and just walk in all directions endlessly, seemingly, just discovering new back streets every day, and also making new acquaintances. Lwow is, or Lviv is the really only part of Ukraine where you definitely have to speak Ukrainian and not to be too fast with start speaking in Russian. For instance, in the flea market where you can buy, well, why don't buy a Lenin oil painting? You will definitely get better bargains if you start discussing with the sellers in the Ukrainian language. Lwow also has its share of gorgeous backyards, old and beautiful, combining woods and stone, and all the places are inhabited, and you can see a lot of smiling faces when you walk around there with the camera. lazing out in a cafe that has a skyline or a overview of the city center as a painting on the wall, and outside is the main square where people gather in Sundays to celebrate, well, weddings, for instance. Oftenly very striking how inhabitants of cities like Odessa or Lwow, amidst crumbling houses, they are very sure to dress up properly and wear only the latest fashion. Well, there are some people that might wear other clothings. Yeah, backyard trekking is definitely a big thing in for tourists of Lwow. Also in Lwow was a huge Armenian population once upon a time, and the old Armenian churchyard is still in the center of the town. Leaving Lwow, we have yet one ex-capital of Ukraine to visit, and it's in the once upon a time, for one single day in the 1930s, there was a state on the European map called Transcarpatia, and its capital was Uzhgorod. Transcarpatia was, let's say, eastern part of Czechoslovakia, and has also big Hungarian population. Uzhgorod is a still and quiet provincial town, and leafy streets in the summer. Basically, not so much happening, and of course, it has its own fortress. As Transcarpatia was in towards the end of the Second World War, included in the growing Soviet Union, but it's only since 60 years it's been in the Russian sphere. This is a petrol station, by the way, in the vicinity of Uzhgorod, and this is the way countryside houses look around Uzhgorod. That means in the Carpathian region, wooden houses with that are very rich in carvings, wood carvings and colors. And yeah, well, looking at how the petrol station might look, you could be better off with another vehicle. Or, well, why not a car? That's my Volvo.